How can you make great game art even though you can't draw at all? Is there even a way of making a good looking game without being an artist? Do I need to learn drawing to succeed as a game dev? I get this asked a lot because I can actually illustrate some pretty good looking game art by myself, and with that, all art in my games, like I saw here, is made only by me. But not everyone is good at that. In this video I will show you an alternative way of making excellent game art, and on top of that, you don't need to draw a single sprite to do so. But how will that work? Instead of handcrafting every sprite by yourself, we are going to use assets. Simple 2D assets like those you would find on the Unity asset store, or in the case of this video, Kenny.nl. Choosing assets in the same style will make it easier for us to customize these assets later so they look like our own. That's basically why I focused on only Kenny assets for today. But what's the point of using assets here when we will customize them anyway later on? When I talk about customizing here, I talk about editing the colors and lighting. In 3D we call this the material, and so can we do in 2D today. Our first step in actually creating an artwork using this method is to find a good asset pack that we can use for the background. Luckily there's a perfect one by Kenny called Background Elements. By the way, I put the links to all of the free packs I used in this artwork in the description, so you can download them easily. Your next step is to actually check out this pack and gather some more ideas, and then you can create a canvas in your drawing program of choice. My canvas is 1600 by 900 pixels big, but here again it's your choice how big the canvas of your artwork is. Then you can also throw in a few of the assets with placeholder colors. The great thing about using assets is that the shape of the individual sprites is already perfect and you only need to care about the colors now. In my opinion, the shape of a sprite is a super tricky thing, but with no more words, let us add colors. For this, we can use another simple and easy method, which is to take a sky image from Google with good colors. And then in our drawing program, we crop it so we only see the gradient of the sky. Next we blur that image. And to wrap things up, we take the 2 or 3 main colors in that gradient of the sky and then turn them into a proper gradient that we will use for the sky in our artwork. Based on the colors in the sky, we now color in our 2 layers of clouds and then our layer of mountains, as well as the 2 layers of hills. All of those colors are taken from our sky gradient, and this repetition of colors makes for a nice color palette style like we see in pixel art. When choosing colors for a landscape, you definitely need to make sure that things closer to the camera get darker. The only exception is the playground, because this is allowed to stand out. Now I searched for a new asset pack for the ground. I ended up deciding on this brick pack because that fitted the overall look pretty well. Then I also edited the sprite using a grayish purple, and then I added some orange grass on top of that. I also used this grass sprite from the first pack, so the shape looked like a platform with grass on it as well. For some extra visual appeal, I also rotated the grass by 180 degrees and then stretched it. Then I just placed around the hanging grass and then I cut off the sides. Lastly, I added shadows and highlights to these ground tiles, which are simply placed around in our artwork. When you have done all of that, you're done with the composition phase, and now you're entering the effects phase. Here, first add some simple highlights by just selecting the space around our stone, for example, and then on another clipping mask layer that is set to overlay, we fill the space around with white, and then when we deselected it, we blur this layer. To finish this highlight off, we now drop down the opacity. After I did this for every single layer, I began to add fog, which helps with the illusion of depth. This is easily done by fading out a sprite with a soft brush, as well as overlaying with a foggy color like this opaque orange in the sky. The farther we are from the camera, the higher the opacity of the layer with the fog color. Even though your artwork might not be very moody, there's still some fog going on because of things like atmosphere. To help with the illusion of depth even more, I blurred all of the background and foreground layers. Again, the closer it gets in the case of the background layers, the less blur, and in the case of the foreground layers, you will need to blur more the closer it gets. To make things look a little more polished, I now added a nice purple to yellow gradient for a color variation effect on top of everything. Then added a nice vignette, some god rays, and one thing I actually forgot to do was adding trees. This wasn't different though, just taking a cool asset, coloring it, placing it around, and then blurring. To finish things up, I made the character look a little nicer, and then I added a camera raw filter, which basically is post-processing in Photoshop. And with that, this is the result of making really great game art without drawing a single thing. I hope you like it, and I hope you are motivated to try and make your own artwork using this method. If you enjoyed this video, it would mean the world to me if you liked and subscribed. Also, if you still want to learn how to properly sketch and draw, you can watch this video right here. See you next time. Cheers.